It was, I don't know, a couple of days ago, I made a video called It's the End of the World as We Know It. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video and also in the description below. What I had basically observed when I did that video was sort of the coming together, the confluence of some of the major trends I see in the country and around the world that portend dramatic and even calamitous and horrible, life-altering events for Americans in general and Christians in specific. So one of the comments I got in response to this video was this: "A lot of what you have said I have been reading, anticipating, and fearing. So my question to you would be, so how do I live as a Christian filled with joy, peace, hope, and kindness with the world collapsing around me? I could definitely use a part 2 video filled with all that stuff. Maybe it's just my regular anxiety of having a whole bunch of teenagers in the house." So here's my answer to that. None of what the Bible tells us about the end times or anything that I said in my video is meant to scare or confuse anybody. It's only to help people be aware of what's going on. And you say, yeah, but it's still scary. But I want you to look at the book of Revelation. Despite all the scary talk, it was written to tell Christians that we live in hope, not fear. It's telling us that we have to have the broad picture, deep and wide, and not just panic about what's going on around us. We have to look at everything that is being told us about what's going on. Revelation was written to show us that God is still on the throne, Revelation chapter 4. That God is worthy to orchestrate these events with righteousness, Revelation chapter 5. That he has not deserted his own people, Revelations chapter 6 and 7. That he is listening to our prayers, the beginning of Revelation chapter 8. And that all of these events will accomplish God's purposes, etc., etc., until the book finally ends with God's victory. I mean, even elsewhere in the New Testament, James chapter 1, verse 2 teaches us that we're supposed to be filled with hope and even joy in times of great trouble. That's what it's trying to teach us, not we should be afraid, but there's reason to have hope and even joy. Our thoughts about the end times are supposed to focus on several points. First of all, it's supposed to open our eyes and our lives and our souls and hearts to the spectacular magnificence of the person of Jesus Christ. In all of these events, we're expected to be able to see the presence of God. Second, the Bible tells us these things because we do need to be prepared for what is coming and the possibilities that just may be around the corner and that may come into our lives. We just are supposed to be ready. Jesus says that several times. Those who are alert and prepared will have an advantage, both mentally, practically, spiritually, emotionally. And third, the anticipation of hard times is supposed to motivate us, both in our discipleship and our evangelism. It's saying, be faithful and keep fulfilling the Great Commission. The book of Revelation wants us to know that God didn't slip up. And, now things are too out of control for him to deal with. No, that's not the way it works, and that's not the message of Revelation. Nothing has slipped from God's hands. The book of Revelation wants us to know that it's possible for a believer to stay faithful, even through this kind of events, awfulness. And it wants us to know that there is light at the end of this long, dark tunnel of history. As Jesus said in Matthew 24, I've told you these things so you won't be deceived. There's a lot of deceit out there, and we can do better than that. Second, Jesus wants us to know that we've been told enough to discern the truth. Trust God and engage the culture. The result of these events will be God's glory. That's what he wants us to know. So be faithful and be wise and do what God has given you to do.